The thing that I say about movements is you never know where they're going to take you. Because once you start digging a hole, you don't know what you're going to find below the dirt. And that's what this turned into.
It's like Lifetime movie stuff. You know, small town and everybody is somehow entwined.
What went wrong in the New Hanover County school system that allowed dozens of students to be taken advantage of by their teachers over a period of decades?
The trouble started at least 30 years ago, maybe longer, multiple generations.
And it seems unbelievable that no one would know about this.
But in the case of repeated sexual abuse by teachers at the New Hanover County school system, people close to the situation say administrators knew what was going on.
This thing is way more fucked up than I thought it was.
A new program had started at my son's elementary school. A parent said to me, I took my child to enroll in Spanish immersion for next year, and it was full. She said, today's the first day of enrollment. How can it be full before enrollment starts?
When I was looking at the class composition, I said, this doesn't make sense.
There were 37 whites and 2 blacks in the program.
I could see a wait list on who was on it, who got in. There were a lot of African American children that were on a waiting list, and the white children who were behind them were put in the program.
She noticed not only the clearly racist way that the program was being run, but also a lot of other issues.
Persistent claims of a cover-up from a variety of parents and students prompted an ongoing criminal investigation.
I saw then that this was not only a Spanish immersion enrollment scheme, you may have widespread corruption.
The pushback had been incredible.
The resistance on his part were to cover up and to silence anyone who spoke out because it would look bad for the school system. They would do whatever it takes.
And the next thing I know, I got a letter banning me from all county school properties. Clearly, I by myself failed.
A former teacher is going to prison after pleading guilty to nearly 60 sex crimes charges involving his own students.
Other people who felt like there was a problem came into the room and we started talking.
We started out with the Spanish immersion program and found later on that there was child abuse going on in the schools.
New Hanover County School band teacher Peter Frank. He was arrested earlier this week and charged with 12 counts of child sex crime.
This is not the first time Oates was on the school system or law enforcement's radar.
Former Hoggard High School volleyball coach Ron Strickland being accused of having sex with 2 16-year-old students while acting as parents for them.
Just like everything else does, it just like spirals and you start hearing from all these different people.
It was more so they didn't keep him safe because they know they had a child that was a predator at the school. So none of the kids essentially was safe because if it wasn't my child, it could have been somebody else's child in the bathroom that day.
They threw my son on the floor, beat him.
So Mr. Green urinated in front of a full classroom full of students.
My daughter was physically assaulted by her band director.
I was 14 years old. To begin with, it was on school property. The sex acts mostly involved me using my hand on him and him using his hand on me and me using my mouth on him and him using his mouth on me. I don't think I was the first by all means, and I definitely don't think I was the last.
An assistant principal took his own life several hours after his arrest on allegations of having an inappropriate relationship with a former student.
The school system became a breeding ground for these sexual misconducts.
Isn't there a vetting process? Like, why would these things not have been red flags?
When students complained, they would often move the students if they could. And if they couldn't, they would move the teacher.
Oftentimes we'll have a staff member who's accused of something inappropriate with the students. We suspect the teacher didn't do it.
It seemed like these people were being transferred from one place to another. None of them like the priests in the Catholic Church scandal.
We had also spoken to hundreds of people who declined to go on the record because they were terrified. I mean that, terrified of what would happen to them if they spoke up.
There are reasons for that fear.
For this to happen, it required the entire school system, and it required participation of people outside of the school system.
This was a mass conspiracy among top administrators.
Anything outside of an independent investigation will implement each of you as co-conspirators to child sexual abuse and discrimination.
I get the gavel.
So if you have information, I would highly suggest you turn it over to those agencies for them to be investigated.
I said, okay, I'll go report it. It turned into an SBI investigation.
But the Sheriff's Department is doing the investigating for the SBI here on the ground.
But isn't that a conflict of interest?
There are so much nepotism and cronyism going on, or has been over the last 30 years, that you need literally a scorecard to keep track of everybody.
He said that it had previously been reported and that the school had done an investigation and that the school had cleared him from these acts. Now we know that he has been guilty of these acts all along.
Leading him free to continue to prey on students for another decade or more.
And I did a spreadsheet. I pulled out the exact number of people who knew. People knew.
You know, this is not a drip, drip, drip. This is like the bottom falling out of the bucket.
People are getting angry. These are no longer allegations. These are things that they have admitted to, and these people are still in power.
And I can't answer for something that happened 20 years ago. I'm not going to answer. I can't answer that question. I'm not going to answer that question. Thank you.
Why hold a press conference if you're not going to answer these questions that everyone in this county wants to know?
Being challenged provoked them to retaliate.
I felt intimidated multiple times.
Deputy Superintendent called the sheriff and said, one of your field Negroes has gotten loose. Can't you get him under control?
These are very powerful people who can make very powerful decisions.
The same players show up over and over again.
And they don't have the best interests of children at heart.
His words were, you just need to let us do our job, because you don't want this to interfere with your job.
Which is a threat. That's intimidation.
I always tell people that when you're involved with activism, there is a potential that things could happen.
I think Dante fears for his life, and I fear for his life. At some point, you do feel like you're in the bullseye. You become the target. People want to get you quiet. They want you to go away. They want to keep their secrets.
I just had something happen. I got a call from an FBI agent